Well, now for more on the housing aspect of the PM's big speech today, let's speak to GB News presenter and reporter Rosie Wright, who is at an estate agent's in South London. Now, Rosie, you've been talking about the potential policy that the Prime Minister may have announced all day. Did his speech live up to your expectations?
Well, lots of young professionals living in South London who pay huge amounts for their rent every single month but can't save for a deposit, they certainly would have been listening, and the Prime Minister directly addressed them. Let's go back to his acknowledgement, first of all, of two key problems. We don't have enough houses, and for those people who want to buy them, they just can't get the deposit together. Well, point number one, he kept on saying, we're on your side. He said the issue here is not about having a lack of space. No, there is space. There's publicly owned brownfield sites which we will build on. He said when we do build those, priority will go to first-time buyers and key workers. But can those key workers actually then afford the property? Well, another acknowledgement from the Prime Minister. He said, I used the term, it was ludicrous that people were spending so much on their rent and then they couldn't save enough money for their deposit. That, of course, being exacerbated by rising inflation, the rising cost of living. And he said it's like continually moving goalposts. You save enough for a deposit, but then you need even more. House prices currently at a record high. Well, he said there's going to be a review of the mortgage, and particularly an increase in those much lower deposit mortgages where you could borrow up to 95% of the value of your home. A lot of this might sound like comforting words, but we haven't actually seen the real detail on how these policies will be enacted. Big changes for people who live in housing association properties if you rent from there. What we had confirmed, which had been preempted before the speech today, was that 4 decades old policy of Margaret Thatcher of the right to buy your council home will be extended to those tenants living in housing association. Second of all, for those of them who have housing benefits, another change. They would be allowed to use the money from that housing benefit to then fund a mortgage. Will this all be enough? The main criticism from the Labour Party is this isn't a new idea. This is an old idea that David Cameron tried to bring forward again in 2015, which then you tried to pilot again in 2019. We haven't seen it executed. And there is a real risk, so say the Labour Party and also some homeless charity campaigners who are saying, well, for all of those people who then buy their social care homes, you promised before that you'd then replace like for like, but that hasn't happened. The government have promised this time that they will do that. If they don't, there is a risk that these policies might make it easier for some people to buy their home, but then for the people who really need social housing, there's less available for them.